very hard, but at the same time very important topic about how the Ukrainian business, despite the start of the war, is fighting, maybe not at the front with the weapons, but still for the people's lives. My name is Helen Shapanik and I'm the product director at LEAFIO. We have helped over 100 retail chains to accelerate margin and revenue growth through the automation of replenishment optimization, planogram optimization, and promotional efficiency. We have projects in 60 different countries and have offices in Estonia, USA, and Ukraine. And since we have dozens of customers from Ukraine, we are in touch with them and we support them. So we know very well how they feel now and what changes have occurred with their supply chains and their business and how they're managing the impossible to proceed working. Nevertheless, they are under the bombs. And that is what I would like to share with you today. I'm Ukrainian, and it really hurts to see how the Russian occupiers are destroying my native land. Every minute, every day, somebody loses their homes, relatives, and loses hope. Every day, people are dying on the streets, and every day, new lives are being born in the bomb shelters. It is very hard to talk about this topic, but nevertheless, there are more than 4 million people who have left our country and became refugees, and half of these people are here in Poland. And every Ukrainian is very grateful for all Polish people and Poland for this warm welcome. I'm proud of my country that I have never been proud before. I'm proud of soldiers and all those civilians who help them to win this war. And I'm also proud of Ukrainian retail. This is one of our customers, the retail chain called Novos, which is one of top 3 most successful grocery retailers in Ukraine. In 2021, they have acquired Ukrainian branch of Bila, and their retail chain consists of 89 stores, and the assortment range is more than 40,000 of SKUs. This is how their main office looked like before the shelling, and this is how their office looks now. This office was fully destroyed just a couple of weeks ago, and this retail chain have moved to this office just a few months ago. And furthermore, their flagship supermarket was also destroyed, as it was at the same location. A retail chain called Novos and a lot of other customers and retail chains in Ukraine are saying about the very significant changes in the supply chain. Of course, in those regions where the supply chains still exist. In such cities like Bucha, Mariupol, Kharkiv, Chernihiv, the supply chain ceased to exist. In those regions, in those cities, volunteers are helping people to get food and water with the help of the volunteer assistance, with the help of the humanitarian assistance, and they say that it is very hard. It is very hard to see grateful eyes full of tears and fear of death. And going back to the topic of my report, I had a chance to talk with our customers and other retail chains in Ukraine, and here is a list of how the supply chain changed in the country. First of all, on the first week of the war, suppliers stopped their work. For the estimations of our customers, nearly 10 to 30% of all suppliers stopped their activity. On the second week of the war, suppliers and manufacturers were trying to resume their work, to restart their work, but in the mode of full sale of the leftovers. So everything that was bought to the warehouses from the manufacturers was just sold out. And nevertheless, the stop of the manufacturers, which was caused by the structural destroys of the warehouses and logistics hubs. Furthermore, a lot of warehouses were burned, were destroyed, and it provoked retailers to use their own logistics, to use their own transport, because they really need to get this food and water for the population, even if from the alternative sources. For example, our customer from Kharkiv do not have his distributional center anymore because it was destroyed, and they were forced to switch to the direct supplies from the suppliers to their shops, and they currently use the cross-docking model as well. Because of the significant changes of the supply chain, the retail business model has changed as well. Before the war, let's say Ukrainian, especially grocery retail, was working on the model which was based on that delayed payment must be bigger, must be more than the inventory turnover. And after the war, after the beginning of the war, everything has changed, vice versa. So suppliers do not give the delayed payment. They have switched to the full payment upon delivery. Before the war, suppliers and manufacturers were just fighting to get to the shelves of the retailers and maybe accept some international suppliers like Unilever, Nestle, and so on. And after the beginning of the war, as I have already said, the situation changed. The assortment metrics ceased to exist as well because before the beginning of the war, 90% of all the assortment was tightly connected with the suppliers, and the remaining 10%, which was socially important goods and medicines, they were replenished based on the stock of the supplier and the price. After the beginning of the war, the assortment metrics ceased to exist, specifications ceased to exist, so everything has really changed. One of our customers in Kyiv region has different assortment in all his shops due to the territorial difference within the shops. Of course, all that led to the shortage of social goods and in some regions severe deficit. For instance, in Kharkiv region, there was no butter for 3 weeks. So the situation really differs from region to region, but retailers still are willing to make everything possible to ensure the food and water in their shops. And of course, a lot of changes, a lot of social changes took place from the beginning of the war. A lot of male population were attracted to the armed forces, were volunteered to the territorial defense. As I have already said, there are a lot of refugees in our country. They have moved to other regions and abroad. A lot of enterprises ceased to exist and stopped their work, and people just lost their jobs. All this led to the dramatic decrease of the purchasing power of the population and the structure of demand as well. So the premium products, the demand for the premium products was dramatically decreased, and vice versa for social items, the demand was increased very big. Despite all these changes, despite all these problems, retailers are fighting like heroes to ensure that the population has a possibility to eat, drink, please their children, and just support the economy of Ukraine. So what they particularly do? Most of the retailers, it is the most important task, of course, provide food, water to the army, volunteers, refugees, and of course the civilian population. It is very hard to imagine how it is to not know which shops will not open tomorrow and which trucks will not deliver goods to their final destination. But people, heroic people, they are opening shops every morning and they are facing new days and new challenges each day. We have several toy retailers among our customers. Of course, toys are not socially important goods, but nevertheless, within the sincere desire of the management of toy retailers to please children, they decided to open all stores that were not damaged. Furthermore, they organized the delivery of toys to children's houses and bomb shelters just to smooth a little bit all this horror that children feel with the explosions and with the darkness of the bomb shelters, which will remain in the memories of thousands and millions Ukrainian children. Some retailers have united their efforts in order to import goods from the Europe, especially on the western Ukraine, and as well it was done for the internal suppliers. Retailers and petrol stations have decided to provide an opportunity to withdraw the cash from the cash points in order for the population to have cash, because banks stopped their work and a lot of bank infrastructure was damaged. It is very hard to imagine how it is to go to the bomb shelters several times at night, how it is to stay there all night without connection, without heating, without electricity. It is very hard to imagine how it is not to be at home for all these 43 days, how it is to have no connection with relatives and friends for days and weeks. People in Ukraine are really exhausted, they are tired and they are empty. That's why a lot of retailers decreased working hours for their operational personnel due to the fact that it is very hard psychologically to work all the working hours. To support the economy of Ukraine, a lot of companies, especially retailers, pay taxes in advance, not to lead the war to destroy the economy sector as well. Companies that have their own trucks provided them to the armed forces and the territorial defense to the needs of all those defenders who helped to win the war and who are particularly winning this war. It is connected with all kinds of supplies and weapons as well. Despite the fact that it is very dangerous and the probability of the destruction of all those trucks is very high, nevertheless, people are still helping the army despite the fact that, of course, as I have already said, the probability of the destruction is very, very high. I want to thank you from my side and from the side of all Ukrainians to thank Poland and Polish people. We even don't have words to be as grateful as we are. I think that every Ukrainian will not forget this help for the end of our lives. And I have never seen the people of Ukraine so united. I have never seen such enormous support of the president, even from another country, not only in Ukraine. I have never seen such pride when pronouncing I'm Ukrainian, and I have never thought it was possible in the 21st century. I want to share a couple of minutes video for you to imagine how dramatical everything is, and for another hand, how courage our people are. I think that we will win. There is no other way. And I'm proud to be here, to stand here, and to talk about this topic here on this stage. So please.
У лузі червона калина похилилася, чогось наша славна Україна зажурилася.